the wish list for things that need help that is huge in India, maybe bigger than any country in the world. And when we started, we just wanted to give some return benefit. We even were starting to look and almost decided on property for an NGO for an orphanage. And while we were doing it, and we like to say now when we look back, I think the animals found us. And that means the injured animals, the cows that had been released from dairies because they weren't productive, donkeys that were injured that we were finding on the side of the roads, dogs and cats. And we didn't really want to start a shelter. We wanted to help somebody who already had a shelter going. And then we found out that not only that all the street animals had no support, that in the government veterinary hospital they would do pedigree dogs, pedigree horses, and they would do farm animals, but they didn't have the least interest in doing this injured street dogs and animals. So that made us think, well, there are other orphanages, there are other TB hospitals, there are polio centers here, all of these things, but no organization was looking at this, and that really made the decision. We started off about 12 years ago and lived in one hospital that was a fabulous hospital for 6 years. And once we got to about 80 animals, we shifted and we came to the current property where we are now, and we've been here for the last 4 or so years. And we've rescued in the process about 35,000 street animals. There are 60 million people that live in Rajasthan. And there's 50,000 villages. There's 3. So when you get 60 million, 3 times the size of the population of Australia. And you think of 3, in my city in Seattle where I came from, there were like 5 or animal little clinics in my little suburb. And here in all of Rajasthan, we have about 300 animals that we keep. And that's not so small, but it's not big either.
What's your ultimate goal with the shelter? Is it to make it sustained by locals?
Yes, in that you hit it really. One of the biggest goals, I would say, in terms of its organization and how it would be run, and we're probably 5 to 10 years away from being to that point where we'll bring on, I mean, we have all of our staff, 35 workers, are all Indians. We have a veterinary doctor from a veterinary university, the only one in Rajasthan. We have 4 veterinary nurses, a 2-year program. So, and we're getting much more confident about their feeling for animal and what they contribute. Because you can be sure no one came here for the love of animals to work. They came because they needed a job.
Yeah, so once I saw a newspaper ad about animal aid, I came here. I gave interview and I was selected. But that time it was new for me because in my life I never touched a single animal. But now I love animals, and basically my work here is to give tours to the volunteers and visitors, and I also work as a public outreach to educating the people about animals, awareness programs at schools and colleges.
One of the hardest things is to keep a doctor. That meaning that big dairies and other things that are, in our view, are actually not even good for animals. These people are being offered bigger and bigger salaries to come to either companies or government posts. So we might get a doctor out of vet school and we'll train them, we'll work with them for 2 or 3 years. We make them really hireable, and after 3 years they leave and go to a higher paying job where they can not only work their day job, but maybe do artificial insemination at farms at night and whatever, and they can get money that is beyond what animal aid can pay such a person.
Not a payment is not a matter, but the workload is a matter. So I'm the only vet here, and actually we have one doctor. He left the job since 2 months ago, and that's why I'm total work I'm doing. And
yeah, it's difficult in India, you know, because people don't like the street animals. You know, in all over India there are a lot of street animals, and there are only 6 or 7 shelters for street animals. There are not for breed animals, but for street animals there are only 6 or 7. And people don't like street animals. Sometimes they've been cruel to the animals. They throw stones, hit them. So that's what we are trying to educate the people not to throw the stones. They are friendly. These dogs, you can see, these are friendly and they are lovely. So that's what we are trying to do. The owners are illiterate and they work sometimes more than 60. So you can see most of the donkeys have the problem with their hoofs and legs, or either back. They are broken due to carrying a lot of weight. Donkeys are used to carry bricks and stones on the streets.
Yeah.
You can see there is a rule that you can't put more than 40 kilograms on the back. But the owners are illiterate and they work sometimes more than 60.
It evolved into education, which it must in the long run, if you're really going to be dealing with the problems in depth. What do you do in your neighborhood for your donkey in a 49 Celsius degree day that has no water? If you see an animal beaten, can you call anyone? Yes, here's a number. If you see an injury, can I help it? Yes, you can. Here's the phone number. Call, and we have a 24-hour rescue to come and deal with these animals. Well, these people who made the first calls, and we waited at the phone wondering if anyone would call, and slowly until now we're getting 10 to 15 calls a day, and we eventually were able to afford a truck and then another one and an ambulance.
So what do you do with when you receive a call?
Yeah, the main thing, someone will make a call, we'll tell them we want to know exactly the neighborhood, where it is it the kind of thing we can treat? Sometimes they have a problem that maybe an animal has a hurt leg, but actually there's nothing we can do. It's been living with that hurt leg for a year, it's kind of healed hurt, and we have to explain this. But if it's something we think we can handle, a car accident, anything, a maggot wound or whatever, then we just get the address and one of our drivers is sent out to go there and to pick up and go to pick up the animal and bring it back to the hospital. So the first thing we do, we have areas for each of the animals. So the dogs will come into what we call our A kennel, and we have another, mange is a big problem, specifically mange that is a worldwide problem for dogs. Their skin, and they're scratching all the time, and anyone who's been in third world countries in particular has seen mange dogs. And so we have a separate area because it's contagious among dogs a lot, so we separate it from other dogs. And then we have donkeys and cows and now some pigs in another area so we look for their treatment, and then as soon as they get better, they're returned to the exact place that we picked them up from, or they cannot be returned because they're blind or injured or old and could not compete for food any longer, and so we keep them here and they're part of our shelter.
Yeah, we are treating that like if there is any fracture of the bones or legs, then we are amputing them, and the other things are we are going for neutralization of the dogs to control the birth of the animals, small animals, and I am amputing the donkey's legs also, and sometimes horn cancer we are removing, and other things are we are treating of the many kinds of the wound and some disease, especially viral diseases and bacterial infection. So I think I am doing very well work here, at least 1.5 years. I'm facing some problem to diagnose some special kind of the diseases because we don't have too much kind of the facilities like ultrasound, X-rays, and some laboratory. But and sometime I'm facing to equipment of surgery of like orthopedic surgery, and sometime I have too much work, so it's hard for me.
Just like before a couple of years, we were getting only 4 or 5 calls a day, but now the number has increased to 20, more than 20 calls per day. Right now we have more than 300 animals, including 180 dogs, and from which 80 dogs are permanent residents here. The work I love the most is just petting and just spend time with these dogs, and we have other animals also, but I love my favorite one, Rambo.
And what's wrong with Rambo?
He got an accident and he has only 3 legs. He's handicapped and he is half paralyzed. So he has been here for more than 6 years. You can see the results. Like before 2 months he was unable to stand, but now he can stand. He can take some weight on the back legs. We daily give them treatment, and there is a lady who gives massage on the back and legs.
Okay.
So you can see the result. We have one more dog. Maybe he is outside. He was paralyzed for more than 6 months.
The city I come from, Seattle, might euthanize 10,000 or so dogs and cats a year that are perfectly healthy because they have no homes. So how did we get to India with all of its troubles, and we are keeping alive paralyzed dogs, and we don't euthanize them because we think, just like maybe my mother or brother or sister who has missing an arm or is paralyzed, that they're still healthy. If they look healthy, if they're alive and want their food, and we think the paralyzed dogs that are here, it would break my heart to think of euthanizing any one of them.
This dog, he was paralyzed for more than 6 months, and even he can't put his head up. But now he can stand. You can see he can stand and walk and run a little bit. It's just by the treatment, the love, the massage what you get from here. Hey Jimmy, come on, let's go. Let's run. Yes.
Now, we will euthanize an animal here that is permanently chronically injured, that we think has rabies, that can't live, has a broken spine, that will never heal. We cannot euthanize a cow by the law of this region. A cow is not, you're not allowed to. So in the case of a cow, we're actually a hospice in that we are helping that animal die. Now, in our view, sadly, the holy cow, the most respected of all the Indian animals, might be one of the, ultimately the worst treated, because it eats the plastic in the cities. The laws say that an animal, if it's ever given profit, you must care for it the rest of the life of that animal. But these are animals, every cow here and every donkey was a worker for someone, and it was abandoned when that work wasn't useful. The milk was not good enough or something, and we find them on the street. This particular animal had an injury from a large vehicle. It has broken a bone deep in the hip. We have no means to give treatment for it. We have no orthopedic equipment or facility. And anywhere in the world, in most Western countries, it'd be no problem, because as soon as a cow is hurt, it's immediately euthanized for dog food and leather and other things. But the Hindu attitude that would say for the cow is not to be killed, we're put in a somewhat awkward place for an animal like this. It came to us knowing with this injury, it cannot improve and it's going to die in the next day or two. But our feeling was, if it were dying in the street, if it were in the street, dogs would be eating out this part of it at night, and pigs. It would suffer. It would have no ability to deal with pain. So we give the medicine and the injections to relieve pain. And so it was one of the harder emotional things for all of our family, and I think our workers, to go through the effort of getting a cow, bringing it here and working, and then having them die so quickly. And then it finally, though, got to the point of like our idea of the hospice, that this is a good place to die, actually. That animal aid actually is a good place for the pain management, for care, and as we're focusing on the animal needs and not on some production needs, economically, this is a complete loser. Spiritually, I'd like to think this is valuable. Most animals have a sense of production value. That I think it wouldn't even be an argument, most people would agree and understand that the role of an animal in the West and most places in the world is to be used in some way, sometimes even used in the sense of a pet. as an accessory in one's life, or used for food, used for hauling, for work, used for entertainment. And our sense has evolved over time to really respect the animal for its own life, that it has brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers, it has a sex drive, it eats things, it's cold at night, it likes to walk and have its own food. And so let's look at the animal for what it wants and what it needs, and then make, you know, the necessary accommodations.